What's up with the squad? Back with another video. I'm Recklezz.
I'm Chris.
So y'all seeing the title, what is going down. Make sure y'all hit that like and subscribe button. Definitely geek to get in this video, see what's going on. Y'all see the title, you know, mainly of being a priority. I think is mainly we have our, you know, having Americans here, homeless, the homeless. We got vets, we got the elderly that's outside, you know, that and obviously putting all the energy, especially allegedly in New York, putting all the energy into the migrants. So we're gonna get in this video, see what's going down. Let's get into it.
As its shelter system is about to overflow, the city is now offering migrants a free one-way ticket to anywhere in the world, as long as it takes them out of New York.
And this is...
See that? You hear that? Taking them, they're flying them anywhere in the world that they want to go to, the migrants. So this is people coming from different countries into the United States, basically. Okay. Migrants, you know, and flying them. And not only are they flying them, but guess who's paying for that? To let them fly, to let them. Who do you think was paying for that? Like for, you know, to let them fly, to let them eat, to let them stay and live. And we are.
Oh, okay.
You know, taxes.
Yeah.
So, and not everybody know. It's not a trick question or nothing like that. But, because I have to learn a lot of this stuff. And they literally can say, oh, I want to go to Ohio. I want to go to Indiana. They getting that for free. It ain't like they paying for it. They letting them know. So that's what this video.
This is where people can get those tickets.
Now, this comes as the city says it's also considering distributing tents to newly arriving migrants and creating tent encampments in city parks.
We're going to have to find large spaces.
More than 130.
That's Eric. I'm pretty sure that's Mayor Adams. Eric Adams. That's the mayor, you know, New York City. The one that, I gotta watch what I say, allegedly enabled the whole fact of them, you know, coming to America. New York City.
Find large spaces.
More than 130,000 asylum seekers have arrived to the nation's largest city since last year.
All options are on the table, and it's not a question of if, it's a question of when.
When we reach that point, we need to manage it. That is not a citywide visual state of chaos.
12 billion.
Free plane tickets. That might sound insane, but once you find out why the city's doing it, it might make a lot more sense. Will everyone agree with it? Probably not. More than 130,000 people have come to New York seeking asylum, and that's just within the last year. The city's at a breaking point and no longer has the resources to care for new arrivals. Now, plane tickets are quite expensive, especially international ones, but it's probably cheaper than the $12 billion projected cost of this crisis over the next few years. And this comes at a time when the city's own shelters are being shut down for fire code violations.
Breaking news now, another shelter for asylum seekers has been shut down over safety concerns. This one is in Midtown.
The mayor's office tells us about 130 men were moved out earlier today due to an inadequate fire alarm system.
So shelters are being shut down all over town, and that's because the city is using any building it can find as emergency housing, whether or not it's even up to the city's own fire code. And this means that the city has less shelter space than it thought it had.
So basically what he's trying to tell me is the fact that they're trying to give all that energy and that prioritize of getting them into emergency housing, but we again have homeless vets, we have homeless people, and we have elderly living outside, and
they're worried about that.
And it's so fat, you know. You have it's sad thinking about it.
Yeah.
You put all your energy into somebody who obviously is new to the country, hasn't been a U.S. citizen for more than a day. But you have people that's living right now. Although I see people in comments all the time, oh, they own drugs and they doing this and doing. Yeah. It's not everybody. Just because you're homeless don't mean that you own, you know, drugs.
Not every homeless person.
It does not mean that. Exactly. You know, there's homeless people that live in cars, that live, you know, that's going house to house.
Yeah, homeless people, you don't even know that it's homeless.
Exactly.
Or not showing it.
That's because the homeless means you don't have a home.
Yeah.
You don't have a home.
Right.
You don't have a current address. You don't have a home. You know, and I feel like that's that's what that is, you know, you sit there and you give the people, the migrants, you know, that priority to, we gotta find emergency housing.
Yeah.
But then you got people, and I don't like
so
that.
quick with it.
Yeah, and then you got people in the comments talking about, they get back on this and they're doing this, bro. It's not. And it's people that fought for the country. I look at the fact there's people fought for the country. I look at that because my brother, you know, he was in the military. Regardless if you didn't do nothing in the military, you didn't do this, you're in the military. Anything can happen.
You're still ready for when
when it's time.
Yeah.
So it's it's crazy.
Yeah, and now that the city's completely out of room, the only thing left to do is offer people free flights. Or something much worse than a free flight, which we'll get to. And you see this handwritten set of instructions? This is what the city is giving to people who've lost their bed in a shelter or who are waiting for shelter placement. A few days ago, the city started removing people from the shelters after they've been there for 30 days. And in another couple of weeks.
And you see them benches right there? Mm-hmm. See how them benches are? Why you think those are there? You know, it's a lot of homeless people that lay on these type benches. I'm pretty sure this is why. I done seen something about it before. People they try to put stuff and try to switch stuff so people can't lay on them, or, you know, it's crazy. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. You can't lay on it.
Yeah, I was about to say.
And if you do, it's going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, because they're like oddly placed.
Yeah, it's weird, ain't it?
Yeah.
It's so weird.
The city started removing people from the shelters after they've been there for 30 days. And in another couple of weeks, families who've been there for 60 days with kids, they're going to be moved out too, which is really sad. But New York's right to shelter rules prevent the city from denying housing to people who get removed from the shelters, which means everyone is eligible to reapply. But first, the city's going to try to convince them to accept a free plane ticket. But if you won't accept a plane ticket, you might have to accept a tent instead. Rigid school. And this former academy is actually the city's key to handling the asylum crisis in a way that some people feel is very controversial.
According to the Wall Street Journal, New York City officials have discussed the idea of giving newly arrived migrants tents, literally giving them some form of protection rather than sleeping on the streets of New York.
So it seems like tents could be given to newly arrived asylum seekers and those who've lost their place in a shelter at this facility. Now, this might look like a big building, but it is not a shelter. The city is calling it a reticketing facility. And that's because the shelter system in New York is now effectively a revolving door type operation. It is so full that in order for somebody to come here and get themselves a bed, they've got to wait for another bed to clear up, and that can only happen because people are evicted after 30/60 day stays. And this reticketing center is now conveniently the location where people reapply for placement in one of the shelters. And by having people reapply for housing at the exact same location where the free plane tickets are being given out, the city's hope is that people accept the tickets and don't actually need to get replaced in the shelter. The tickets are voluntary, and if somebody...
But my thing is why wait for all of this and to give all this energy to migrants? I just haven't seen anything about, you know, all of it, like videos of helping our own.
Yeah, I haven't. And they're making it like such a priority.
It's crazy.
I don't know, yeah.
But he does want to stay in the shelter, they can still do that.
This initiative comes as Mayor Eric Adams describes the migrant influx as a crisis. More than 130,000 asylum seekers have arrived to the nation's largest city since last year.
Now, the city's critics are going to say that the reason this is happening and people are being given free plane tickets is because nobody here knows what they're doing. The mayor and the governor have just messed everything up. That's what critics are going to say. But on the other hand, New York City law says that the city has to give a bed to anybody who wants it on a temporary basis. The mayor and the governor aren't responsible for making the law, but they are responsible for obeying it. And supporters of how the city's handling this crisis think that it's actually a very shrewd move to offer tickets and reapplications in the exact same facility. The city's own data show that 50% of asylum seekers who leave the shelter do not come back asking to be replaced in the shelter system. And the city thinks its reticketing program will be most successful if everybody who reapplies gets offered a ticket at the same time. Also, the journey to New York for a lot of the folks that are here is a long, tough journey, and they come from very sad situations, total economic poverty. People are here and they don't have the means to leave. So I think a free ticket is a great idea, especially if somebody's here now and they realize that they might be better off somewhere else. And it's not a good idea for the city.
And by all means, like I said in the last video, It's a sad situation, especially for the kids. It's a sad situation. We know that a lot of these people come from sad situations and situations that we ourselves wouldn't even want to be in. Yeah. But it's one thing about it when you have the upper, you know, you had this government to prioritize for our own people.
Yeah.
Especially people that's being U.S. citizens. We talking about people that, you know, come here and, oh, yeah, we get everything and we get this. Then you have, I reacted to another video yesterday, and people being ungrateful of not wanting to go to the shelters.
Yeah,
they rather go back home.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And it's like you get ungrateful. It's just a sad situation all the way around it. It's a sad situation.
City to spend money housing people who wish that they weren't here in New York in the first place. And it's frightening to think about what's going to happen to people who are given a tent and told to wait on the street while a bed opens up. And as soon as this policy was announced, people started wondering, are we going to see tents all over the place in New York City? Some people think we might.
That's wild, y'all.
The city is considering handing out tents to newly arriving migrants so they can create encampments.
Just thinking about that, we already have problems. This is not going to do nothing but cause more problems.
Yep. Yeah.
Meaning, like, this is literally going to cause way more problems. People
everywhere.
People everywhere. It's diversity everywhere.
Yeah.
And although everybody should come together.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, that's all what we stand for. But it don't work like that. Obviously, in 2023, it ain't gonna work like that. And this is considered allegedly, what the people are saying, a disaster waiting to happen.
Encampments in parks and other outdoor spaces.
And that's why we're here over in this massive park by the East River. There's a lot of open space here, and it could be that if the city decides to create encampments of some kind, they could wind up in a place like this. This here is the FDR Drive, and the park area is east of it. That's the river out there. There's a lot of construction over here right now, but there are a lot of things that make this park particularly well suited to some sort of base camp. There's actually like a running track over here. Under the trees, I've seen people doing barbecue and stuff over here on the 4th of July. Water fountains aren't disabled. Running water, that's huge. And there's actually a bathroom facility over here already. And because of the highway, access over here is fairly limited. This could be made into a secure area and sequestered off. This park is several miles long. It winds its way down Manhattan's east side all the way to the southern tip. There's even this running track. Over here, there's another big open area. Looks like a baseball diamond on the other side of that fence. Here we have the East River. That's Williamsburg, Brooklyn over there. Then Long Island City up this direction. Definitely a nice park, but this is a city-owned park. Now, critics are pretty adamant that taking a public park like this and using it for a specific purpose that denies the entire population the ability to use it as it was originally built is a bad idea. But since there's no more room in the shelters, the city has zero options.
That's the thing. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to know what could happen.
Yeah.
More people, more what? Problems. More people, more problems. Right. Just think about that. If there is any type of sale going on in Walmart and you have less people, it is going to be the nicest thing in the world. Now, if you throw more people in there, what you think going to happen?
Yeah, craziness.
That's I literally don't get the whole situation. Like, and I get it. Like, by all means, there is bad situations. We got problems that we got on our own, you know, in the United States. And it's not as bad, you know, obviously, as other countries. Yeah. But at the same time, we ain't even got it together yet. So, that's not doing that, making the situation worse. But, hey.
And if the city doesn't take areas like this and make them safe spaces for people to have a tent, they don't set up some sort of safe encampment, those people are going to be on their own on the streets. And I think that would be even worse. And in order to abide by the city's right to shelter mandate, which comes from a court decision back in the 80s, they have to use the resources that are available to them in order to abide by the law.
What we're dealing with right now is a depletion of resources that is going to threaten our ability to provide the basic services to New Yorkers. And I can't allow that to happen.
Mayor's got a good point. The city does not have unlimited resources. And if this keeps going, taking care of New Yorkers' basic needs is going to become a challenge as well. The mayor really is between a rock and a hard place on this issue. But if the mayor's statement is accurate that the city has no more room indoors, it's a foregone conclusion that places like this baseball diamond might not be used for playing baseball in the near future. This could look very different in just a few weeks.
It's like the movies, when you be seeing the movies and you be seeing like different, what do they call them, like different like colonies and like different
things. Yep. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And the crazy thing is, like, they always base it either in Los Angeles or New York.
New York especially, yeah.
That's wild. It's actually scary even thinking about it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Adams says they are currently discussing with leaders in other countries about how to manage these tent encampments, looking at how they could still provide restrooms and showers.
You know, I think that's going to be a pretty big challenge in some of the city's parks, like Central Park or Prospect Park, which are just so open and have areas where there might not be any plumbing or anything. You'd probably have...
But that's the thing. When I think of Central Park, because I've never been to New York. Have you ever been to New York? We've never been to New York. So when you hear Central Park, you like, I want to visit Central Park. Because that's something that's always been like, everybody used to talk about Central Park and like going to go see this and going to go see that. It's going to turn into that place that it's like, I don't want to go to New York City. And we never been.
Yeah.
You know, and it's sad. You know, this is definitely a sad situation.
Have to do something like this and install plumbing and build infrastructure that's not there already. And it could be insanely costly and expensive to develop sites like that. Plus, you might even permanently change the landscape of some of New York's most historic parks. For the record, this looks like it's a raised pier. I'm pretty sure that's what's being built here. You can kind of see the pylons and you can see the infrastructure kind of heading out into the river. So we can't continue all the way down the park, but we can guess at what the finished product might look like. In 2020, the city erected this field hospital in Central Park. Look at that. They had water, they had tents, they had lots of equipment. This was a real operation. 68 beds, temperature controlled, water, heat, everything. If you could build that in Central Park 3 years ago, it can totally happen again in pretty much any park, which means there could be like a shower.
But I feel like, honestly, if this stuff was changed for, again, the elderly, the homeless and stuff like that, the vets, yeah. And a lot of people need guidance. A lot of people look at the fact, oh, you go to the military, you get paid this, you get paid that. Why ain't they saving? Why ain't they? A lot of people need guidance. Everybody's not going to be good with money. Everybody's not going to be good with saving. Everybody's not going to be good with situations that they have, with paying this, with paying that. Some people don't have that guidance. So a lot of people, and I'm not making up excuses for these homeless people, but at the same time, we all fall short at some point in time in our lives.
Yeah.
And all we can do, you know, is pray for the individual, help the individual to the best of our abilities. But at the same time, I look at the fact that it's a sad situation, and this should have been done a minute ago rather than doing it now. We're in a bad situation that we are now in 2023.
And it's worse than it was before, yeah.
It's worse than it was before. Not only from the veterans that we have, the homeless veterans that we have, the elderly, the homeless people that we have, you know, that's non-veterans. But you're bringing in migrants, having migrants come in
on top of it.
Exactly. So it makes it worse. It's crazy.
Showering apparatus, like a shared bathroom that could kind of go along with a campsite. You would need something like that, or people are just going to really be having an even tougher time. And the hope is that between limited shelter stays and the city's reticketing program, nobody is going to have to stay in a place like this for more than a night or two. The New York Post is confirming that these new sites are going to be more like campsites rather than a fully enclosed housing center like what you see here. I think that's Randall's Island. The mayor's also been pretty adamant that he doesn't want tent cities popping up all over the city, and that areas like this that can be used just for that purpose are one of his main priorities. And what that means is even if New York City does end up doing this, it's not going to spill over onto the sidewalks and into the center of the city. But critics of this plan say that putting people in tents during a New York City winter is a dangerous idea. And you know something? They're right.
The mother of three confesses with the inevitable arrival of snow and bitter cold.
That's actually a news clip from Chicago. And in Chicago, it gets a lot colder than it does.
It is. They're having that problem in Chicago, too. It's major cities that it's happening to.
Yeah.
It's major cities. It's happening in Chicago. I forgot about Chicago.
It's in New York. That's why they're already getting snow. But that type of weather is going to be here soon. And unfortunately, they've already handed out tents in Chicago, and it gets so cold, they've got to use warming buses to help people stay warm. These are essentially a bus with the heat on inside, which is parked between 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. out on the street near where some of these people are camping. That's a very tough situation, and I think that the policymakers here in New York have to be watching what's going on over there, because our weather gets just as bad, and I don't see how the problems that are happening in Chicago aren't going to also be happening here if we do the same thing. Also, with all that snow and those freezing temperatures, I can't imagine walking outside of a tent to try to make it to a communal bathroom of sorts and then having to walk all the way back just to take a shower or use the restrooms. When it's cold in New York, everyone just stays inside and doesn't even want to leave their apartment. But if you're here and you don't have an apartment, things are going to be really tough. And downright dangerous. I didn't know this, but apparently you can get frostbite when it's not freezing out. Frostbite, sickness, those are real potential issues. And when faced with potential weather...
It is, but I look at the fact that you got to think about all of that when you come here to America. You got to know about, okay, well, am I going to stay here and deal with this and get this going? Or am I going to go here and deal with...
wonder what I have going on.
Exactly. It's like you walking into really something that you don't really know about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Weather like this, some people are going to decide it's not worth it and that it's time to leave New York City.
Aquí solo hay 4 niños pequeños.
Here there are 4 small children, this Venezuelan father shows us, and a young girl over here pointing to tents where he says families sleep.
Man, this is bad. I really wish something could be done to help those folks. I certainly hope that this same thing doesn't end up being here in New York. But what's interesting about Chicago is that unlike New York City, Chicago hasn't gone about setting up these massive relief centers like the Randall's Island one. And that's why they've got people sleeping on street corners and in front of police stations. Now in New York, our streets don't look like that because we have the massive relief centers. And the folks in Chicago probably think that relief centers would help their streets resemble ours, but now that our relief centers are full, our streets might start to look like Chicago unless the mayor's plan goes through. But what do you think is going on?
But that's the thing. The mayor, they said that the mayor wanted, migrants, to come in New York. But then now saying that they got to go somewhere else. You can't do that.
I would say, you should have thought about that.
Exactly. And I feel like that right there.
Here now, so.
And it's gonna be more and more and more, and that right there is raps. Like you gotta, and it is a sad situation. Like I said about, especially with the kids, that is a sad situation with the kids. Kids and women is the most important thing. I look at all the time, because without women we wouldn't be here. That's what people need to realize. So, if you that person, and women and children, that's the most important thing.
And it's getting cold out too.
It is getting cold out. It's definitely getting cold out, but at the same time, it's just a lot to think about. And then, like I said, they have the shelters that's on the island, but again, people are refusing. Oh, this is not safe. This is not safe, man. Like I said in that last video, you better protect yours.
Yeah, for real.
Because I'd rather go to a shelter and be in that shelter and protect my kids, even if my eyes got to stay open the whole time, rather than sleeping on the street, cold.
With my kids,
Yeah, having your kids sick. You getting frostbite. Got to be in the hospital. I don't know, y'all. Make sure y'all hit that like button, subscribe button. Make sure y'all comment down below. Next video definitely should be a banger for tomorrow. So make sure y'all stay tuned. This definitely was an amazing video. Description, the video along with the channel. I'm pretty sure his name is Cash. Will be in the description box down below. Yeah, Cash Jordan. But you already know. That like button, that subscribe button. Catch y'all next one.